I transferred the $200,000 to my daughter's student loan account that morning. Then I blocked her number. Let me back up. My name is Robert Chen, and I raised my daughter Emily alone after my wife died when Emily was 6. Breast cancer, the kind that moves fast. One day, Sarah's complaining about back pain. 6 months later, I'm a widower with a first grader who keeps asking when mommy's coming home. I was an automotive technician at a Toyota dealership in Sacramento. Not glamorous, but steady. I worked every overtime shift they'd give me. Weekends, holidays, didn't matter. Emily needed new shoes, piano lessons, SAT prep, college application fees. The list never ended and I never said no. She was brilliant. National Honor Society, debate team captain, valedictorian. Got into Georgetown Law with a partial scholarship. But partial doesn't pay for DC rent or textbooks or professional clothes for internships. So I took out Parent Plus loans, $200,000 worth, spread across 3 years. My plan was simple. Emily gets her degree debt-free, starts her career without that weight. Maybe helps me pay it back once she's established. Father-daughter team, right? That's what I told myself every time I signed another promissory note. She graduated last May, passed the bar in July, got hired at Morrison & Fletcher, one of those white-shoe law firms in downtown D.C., where partners make 7 figures and associates start at $215,000. She called me crying happy tears. I cried too, alone in my apartment, looking at Sarah's photo. Emily was supposed to visit for Thanksgiving, but she canceled. Big case, she said. Couldn't get away. I understood. I spent the holiday watching football and eating Chinese takeout, thinking about how Sarah would have been so proud. Then came December 15th. I was scrolling Facebook during my lunch break, eating a sandwich in my truck, when I saw it. My cousin Janet had shared a post from Morrison & Fletcher's public page. Congratulations to Emily Chen on her promotion to junior partner. Junior partner, at 26. In 18 months. The photo showed Emily in a navy suit, holding champagne, surrounded by smiling people in what looked like someone's mansion. Floor-to-ceiling windows, crystal chandelier, the works. I zoomed in. There was Emily, radiant, next to a tall blonde guy in a tuxedo, his arm around her waist, very comfortable. The caption read, "Celebrating with the family who believed in me every step of the way. Special thanks to the Hawthorns for their unwavering support and guidance. Here's to the next chapter." The Hawthorns. I clicked on the blonde guy's profile. Christopher Hawthorne III, Yale Law, currently senior associate at Morrison & Fletcher, son of Christopher Hawthorne Jr., founding partner at the firm. I scrolled through Christopher's photos. There was Emily at what looked like the Hamptons, Emily on a yacht, Emily at a black tie gala, Emily at the Hawthorne family estate for Christmas last year. When she told me she was too swamped with work to fly home, I found the Hawthorne family photo from that Christmas. Emily was in it, wearing a red dress I'd never seen, laughing with Christopher's parents by a 12-foot tree. My hands were shaking. I put down my sandwich. I went back to Emily's promotion post, read the caption again. The family who believed in me every step of the way. I scrolled through the 43 comments. Congratulations from colleagues, law school friends, former professors. Christopher's mother had written, "We're so proud of you, darling. You're already like a daughter to us." I kept scrolling. Not one mention of me. Not in the post, not in the comments. I opened Emily's Instagram, which I rarely checked. Her bio read, "Junior partner at Morrison Fletcher, future Mrs. Hawthorne, future Mrs. Hawthorne." I scrolled back 6 months. There was the engagement announcement. A massive diamond on her finger, the Washington Monument in the background. Caption, he asked. I said yes. Can't wait to marry my best friend. Number engaged. Number Hawthorne bride. 217 likes. Dozens of comments I'd never seen because she'd never told me. My daughter was engaged and I'd found out on Instagram. I kept going back. Found the photos of her with the Hawthorns. Easter dinner. 4th of July at their lake house. Charity galas. Wine tasting in Napa. In every photo, she looked happy, confident, like she belonged. I noticed something else. In all her posts from the past 2 years, she tagged locations, friends, Christopher, his family. But she never posted anything about Sacramento. Nothing about visiting home. Nothing about me. It was like I didn't exist. I went back to work, but I couldn't focus. That night, I did something I'm not proud of. I created a fake LinkedIn profile and searched for Emily's page. Her professional profile was immaculate. Education, experience, publications, awards. Under family, it listed her hometown as Washington, D.C., not Sacramento. Under About Me, she'd written a long paragraph about her journey to law. Growing up in the nation's capital, I was always drawn to policy and justice. My mentors at Georgetown and Morrison and Fletcher shaped my path, and I'm grateful for the guidance of the Hawthorne family, who took me under their wing and showed me what it means to practice law with integrity. Nothing about working-class Sacramento. Nothing about a dead mother. Nothing about a father who took out $200,000 in loans so she could have this life. I barely slept that night. The next morning, Saturday, I did more digging. Found the announcement of Emily's engagement in the Washington Post Society pages. Emily Chen, junior partner at Morrison and Fletcher, will wed Christopher Hawthorne III in June at the Hawthorne Estate in Martha's Vineyard. Miss Chen was raised in Washington, D.C., and graduated from Georgetown University and Georgetown Law. Raised in Washington, D.C. I sat there in my kitchen, in the apartment I'd lived in for 30 years, and I felt something crack inside my chest. She'd erased me. Completely. I opened my laptop and logged into the loan servicer website. The Parent Plus loans were in my name, my responsibility. I'd been paying them faithfully, $1,847 a month, for the past year and a half. The balance was $183,491. There was an option I'd never explored before. Transfer of responsibility. If the student agrees, the loans can be transferred to their name. I called the servicer's customer service line. Waited 40 minutes on hold. Federal Student Loan Services. This is Brenda. How can I help you? I need to transfer my Parent Plus loans to my daughter, I said. Okay, sir. I'll need some information. Can you confirm your loan account number? I gave her the details. She pulled up my file. Mr. Chen, I see you have $183,491 remaining across multiple Parent Plus loans taken out for Emily Chen, correct? Correct. And Miss Chen has agreed to assume responsibility for these loans? I hesitated for exactly 2 seconds. Yes, I said. I'll need written consent from both parties. I'm sending you the forms now. Once we receive them back with both signatures, we can process the transfer. This typically takes 4 to 6 weeks. What if I want to pay them off entirely right now and just send her a bill? I asked. Brenda paused. Sir, that would be a private matter between you and your daughter. The servicer can't facilitate that, but if you pay off the loans in full, they're satisfied. What you and your daughter arrange afterward is your business. Thank you, I said. I hung up and stared at my bank account. I'd been saving for retirement for 30 years, had about $240,000 in my 401k and savings combined. I'd planned to retire in a few years, maybe travel a little, visit the places Sarah and I had always talked about. I transferred $200,000 to the loan servicer, paid off every cent of Emily's law school debt. Then I opened a new email account, sent Emily an invoice. Dear Emily, I've paid off your law school loans in full. The total amount was $200,000 plus $19,000 in interest. I've paid over the past 18 months. Your total debt to me is $219,000. I expect full repayment within 90 days, or I'll pursue legal action. Regards, Robert Chen. I attached the payment confirmation and loan satisfaction documents. Then I blocked her number, her email, all her social media. I didn't expect to hear from her, but I was wrong. 3 hours later, someone was pounding on my door. I opened it. Emily stood there in yoga pants and a Georgetown Law sweatshirt, her face red and streaked with tears. "What the hell, Dad?" she shouted. I stepped back. "Let her in." "You blocked me," she said, her voice shaking. "You sent me that that invoice, and then blocked me. What is this? It's exactly what it says, I replied calmly. I paid your debt. Now you owe me. You can't be serious. Those were parent loans. You took them out. That was your choice. Yes, because you're my daughter, and I wanted you to graduate without debt. But apparently, I'm not your father anymore, am I? She froze. What are you talking about? I picked up my phone, pulled up her promotion post on my laptop since she'd blocked me back, turned the screen toward her. The family who believed in me every step of the way, I read aloud. That's the Hawthorns, right? Not the guy who worked 60-hour weeks so you could go to Georgetown? Emily's face went pale. And this, I continued, pulling up the Washington Post announcement. Raised in Washington, D.C. That's interesting, because I could have sworn you grew up in Sacramento, or did I imagine all those years? Dad, I can explain. You're engaged, I said, to a Hawthorne. When were you planning to tell me? Before or after the wedding? She started crying. Real tears, not the manipulative kind. She sank onto my old couch. I was going to tell you, she whispered. When? I don't know. I kept putting it off. It got harder and harder. Why? She looked up at me, and I saw something in her face I'd never seen before. Shame. Because I didn't know how to explain you, she said quietly. The words hit me like a physical blow. Explain me? The Hawthorns are. They're not like us, Dad. Christopher's father is a founding partner. His mother is on the board of the Kennedy Center. They summer in Martha's Vineyard and winter in Aspen. They went to boarding school and Ivy League colleges. Everyone in their circle did. And I'm a mechanic from Sacramento, I said. You're an automotive technician, she corrected automatically, then realized what she'd done. I laughed. It came out bitter. You can't even say mechanic. That's how ashamed you are. I'm not ashamed. You erased me, Emily, from your LinkedIn, your engagement announcement, your promotion celebration. You told the Washington Post you grew up in D.C. You spent Christmas with the Hawthorns last year and told me you were working. I am working. I work 90-hour weeks at that firm, but not at Christmas. You were at their estate. I saw the photos. She put her face in her hands. When did it start? I asked. When did you decide I was an embarrassment? It wasn't like that, she said through her tears. Then what was it like? She took a shaky breath. It started my first week at the firm. There was a partner lunch, everyone going around introducing themselves, talking about where they went to school, what their parents did. Christopher said his dad was a founding partner. Someone else's dad was a federal judge. Someone else's mom was a senator. And you? I said my mom passed away when I was young and my dad worked in automotive. I didn't say mechanic. I said automotive, like it was some corporate thing, but it wasn't enough. Christopher's mother asked where I grew up. I said California. She got excited, thought I meant San Francisco or L.A., started talking about Napa and Malibu. I didn't correct her. So you let her think you were from money. Not intentionally. It just happened. And then Christopher asked me out, and I liked him, and by the time I met his parents, they already had this idea of who I was. I couldn't take it back. You could have told the truth. I tried, she said desperately. I started to tell Christopher about you, about Sacramento, but he made this comment about how he admired people who pulled themselves up by their bootstraps, but they didn't really fit into his parents' social circle. He was talking about someone else, but I knew what it meant. So you chose them over me. I chose my career. Do you know how rare it is for someone my age to make junior partner? They were grooming me for it because I'm dating Christopher, yes, but also because I'm good at my job. The Hawthorns opened doors for me. Christopher's dad mentored me personally, and I just paid for you to walk through those doors, I said quietly. She looked at me, really looked at me, and I saw the moment it hit her. Dad, You didn't just forget to mention me, Emily. You rewrote your entire history. You turned yourself into someone whose family could afford Georgetown law, who belonged in the Hawthorns world. You erased every sacrifice your mother and I made. Mom would understand, she whispered. That's when I lost it. Don't you dare, I said, my voice shaking with anger. Don't you dare use your dead mother to justify this. Sarah worked herself to exhaustion to give you opportunities. She died worried about whether you'd be okay, and I promised her I'd make sure you had everything you needed. I kept that promise. I gave you everything, and you threw me away like I was nothing. Emily was sobbing now. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I never meant for it to go this far. But it did. You got engaged and didn't tell me. You made partner and thanked everyone except me. You've been building a life, and I'm not in it. That's not true. Really. When was the last time you called me just to talk? Not because you needed something, just to check in? She opened her mouth, closed it. Exactly, I said. We sat in silence for a long moment. The invoice stands, I said finally. You owe me $219,000. You're making $250,000 a year as a junior partner, plus whatever bonus they give you. You can afford it. Dad, please. I'll pay you back, but don't make it like this. Don't make it a transaction. You made it a transaction when you decided I wasn't worth mentioning to your new family. They're not my family. You're my family. Then why did you say they believed in you every step of the way? I was there for every step, Emily. Every single one. First day of kindergarten, every piano recital, every debate tournament, college move-in day, law school graduation. I was there. Where were the Hawthorns? She couldn't answer. You have 90 days, I said. After that, I'll file in small claims court. You're a lawyer. You understand how this works. You'd sue me? You'd erase me. She stood up, wiping her eyes. I can't believe you're doing this. I can't believe you already did. She walked to the door, then turned back. Christopher's parents want to meet you. They want to meet my dad before the wedding. I'm not going to your wedding, Emily. Her face crumpled. Dad, please. I made a mistake. A huge mistake. But I love you. You're my father. I can't get married without you there. You were going to, I pointed out. You were planning a Martha's Vineyard wedding with 200 guests, and I wasn't invited. You were going to be invited. I just hadn't sent invitations yet. Were you going to seat me with the Hawthorns family? Introduce me as the mechanic from Sacramento? Or were you going to put me at a back table and hope nobody asked questions? She didn't answer, which was an answer. Goodbye, Emily, I said. She left crying. I didn't hear from her for 3 weeks. Then I got a letter. Not an email, a physical letter, delivered to my door. Dear Dad, it began, and I almost threw it away. But I didn't. I've been talking to a therapist. She says I've been dealing with imposter syndrome and class shame, which doesn't excuse what I did, but maybe explains it. Every day at Morrison and Fletcher, I'm surrounded by people who grew up with everything. They talk about boarding school and trust funds and summer homes like it's normal. I didn't have any of that. I had you, working overtime at the dealership, eating ramen so I could have new clothes for school pictures. I was so desperate to fit in that I convinced myself I could just become one of them. If I dressed right and talked right and dated the right person, nobody would know I was the girl whose dad changed oil for a living. But the truth is, you changing oil paid for everything I have. My degree, my bar exam, my professional wardrobe, everything. You gave me a life I never could have had otherwise. And instead of being grateful, I was ashamed. I told Christopher everything. About Sacramento, about Mom's cancer, about you taking out $200,000 in loans for me, about the invoice. He was horrified. Not by you, by me. He said his dad grew up working construction to pay for community college. His grandfather was a coal miner. The Hawthorns have money now, but they came from nothing, just like us. I could have told them the truth from the beginning and it would have been fine. Better than fine. They would have respected you. But I was so convinced I needed to hide where I came from that I didn't even give them a chance. Christopher's mother wants to meet you. For real this time. She wants to thank you for raising a daughter who works as hard as I do. She says she can tell I was raised right. I know I don't deserve forgiveness. I know I hurt you in a way that might be unforgivable. But I'm asking anyway. I love you, Dad. I'm sorry I forgot to show it. Love, Emily. I read the letter 3 times. Then I put it in a drawer. A week later, I got a check in the mail for $219,000 from Emily's personal account. There was a note attached, paid in full. I'm sorry it took me this long to pay what I owe. And I don't just mean the money. I didn't cash the check. Instead, I unblocked her number and called her. She answered on the first ring. "Dad? I got your check," I said. "I know it's not enough. I'm not cashing it." Silence. "Emily, I don't want your money. I never wanted your money. I wanted my daughter." I heard her start to cry. "I wanted you to be proud of where you came from," I continued. "Proud of your mom, who fought so hard to stay alive for you. Proud of me, who did his best to fill the hole she left. I wanted you to introduce me to your fiancé and his family and say, 'This is my dad. He's a mechanic, and he's the best man I know.'" "You are," she whispered. "You're the best man I know." "Then act like it," I said. "I don't need you to pay me back financially. I need you to stop being ashamed of me." "I'm not. You were. Maybe you still are a little. But if you want me in your life, if you want me at your wedding, you need to decide who you are. Are you the girl who came from nothing and made something of herself? Or are you someone who pretends she was born into something she wasn't?" "I'm the girl from Sacramento," she said, after a long pause. "The girl whose dad worked overtime every week. The girl whose mom died too young. The girl who got into Georgetown on partial scholarship and whose dad took out $200,000 in loans to cover the rest. That's who I am." "Can you own that?" I asked. "In front of the Hawthorns? In front of your colleagues? In front of everyone?" "Yes," she said. "I want to. I need to." "Then come home," I said. "Come back to Sacramento. Bring Christopher. Let him see where you grew up. Show him your old bedroom, your mom's garden, the high school where you were valedictorian. Let him meet your family here, the people who knew you before you were Emily Chen, Esquire." She was quiet for a moment. "Okay," she said finally. "We'll come next weekend." They came. Christopher was younger than I expected, nervous, polite. Shook my hand too hard. Called me sir about 40 times in the first hour. Emily showed him everything. Her old room, still decorated with debate team trophies and photos of her and Sarah. The garden where Sarah had planted roses that I still tended. The dealership where I worked. We went to dinner at the Mexican place, where I used to take Emily every Friday night after school. Christopher was visibly uncomfortable at first, overdressed in khakis and a button-down, but he loosened up after Emily ordered for both of them and told the waitress, "This is where I grew up. Best carnitas in California." After dinner, we sat in my living room. Christopher looked at the photos on the wall. "Is this Emily's mom?" he asked, pointing to Sarah's picture. "That's Sarah," I said. "Took that photo at Lake Tahoe, year before she got sick." "Emily looks like her," he said. "She does. Acts like her too. Stubborn, brilliant, terrible at asking for help." Emily smiled a little at that. Christopher turned to me. "Mr. Chen, Emily told me everything. About the loans, about how hard you worked to put her through school. I want you to know that I respect that immensely. My grandfather was a coal miner in West Virginia. Died of black lung when my dad was 15. My dad worked construction to put himself through community college, then state school. He was the first Hawthorne to go to college." I looked at Emily. She was watching Christopher with something like wonder. "The money came later," Christopher continued. "Dad built his practice from nothing. Took on cases nobody else wanted. Worked 100-hour weeks for years. By the time I was born, we had money. But he never let me forget where we came from." "Emily seemed to think you'd be ashamed of where she came from," I said carefully. Christopher looked genuinely confused. "Why would I be ashamed? Everything I admire about Emily comes from how she was raised. Her work ethic, her determination, her resilience. She got those from you. She got the stubbornness from her mother," I said, and Emily laughed, the first real laugh I'd heard from her in years. We talked for hours. Christopher asked questions about Emily's childhood, about Sarah, about my work. He was genuinely interested, not politely feigning interest. At one point, Emily's phone rang. She looked at it and said, "It's your mom." Christopher answered, "Hey, Mom. Yeah, we're at Mr. Chen's apartment, Sacramento. You should see it. It's great." "Yeah." Emily showed me her old room. "Okay, hold on." He handed me the phone. "She wants to talk to you." I took the phone hesitantly. "Hello? Mr. Chen. I'm so glad to finally talk to you. I'm Margaret Hawthorne, Christopher's mother. Nice to meet you, Mrs. Hawthorne. Please, call me Margaret. I wanted to apologize to you. Emily told me she'd been hesitant to talk about her family, and I'm afraid I didn't make it easy. I can be a bit presumptuous sometimes, making assumptions about people. I should have asked more questions. It's not your fault, I said. Emily made her own choices. Well, I hope you'll give us a chance to know you properly now. We're having dinner next Sunday in D.C., just family. We'd love for you to join us. Christopher's father is very eager to meet the man who raised such an impressive daughter. I looked at Emily. She was watching me with hopeful eyes. I'll be there, I said. That dinner was surreal. The Hawthorns lived in a Georgetown townhouse that probably cost more than I'd make in 5 lifetimes. But they were warm, welcoming. Christopher's father, Christopher Jr., told stories about working construction, about his own father's struggles. Emily reminds me of myself at her age, he said. Hungry, brilliant, working twice as hard as everyone else to prove she belonged. But the secret is, she already belonged. She just needed to believe it. After dinner, he pulled me aside. I owe you an apology, Robert, he said. Emily's been with our family for 2 years, and I never asked about you. I assumed her parents were deceased or estranged. I should have asked. Should have made it clear that we wanted to know her whole story, not just the parts she thought we'd find acceptable. She's an adult, I said. She makes her own choices. True. But we could have made it easier for her to make different choices. My mother used to say, you can tell a lot about someone by how they treat the people who raised them. I should have noticed that Emily never talked about her family. We rejoined the others. Margaret showed me their family photos, including one of Christopher Sr., the coal miner, looking exhausted and proud. We don't forget where we came from, she said simply. And we don't want our children to forget either. Emily was quieter than usual that night, watching me interact with the Hawthorns like she was holding her breath. On the drive back to my hotel, she finally spoke. Thank you for coming, she said. They're good people, I said. They are. I was so stupid, Dad. I was so convinced they'd judge me for where I came from. I didn't even give them a chance. And I hurt you for nothing. Not nothing, I said. You learned something. What? That you can't run from who you are. You can only decide whether to be ashamed of it or proud of it. She nodded slowly. I choose proud. From now on, I choose proud. The wedding was in June, at the Hawthorne estate in Martha's Vineyard. 200 guests, like Emily had planned. But this time, I was there. I walked her down the aisle. In my speech at the reception, I talked about Sarah, about how proud she would have been, about how Emily got her mother's strength and her father's stubbornness. Everyone laughed and cried in the right places. Afterward, Emily found me on the terrace, looking out at the ocean. Thank you, she said again. For what? For not giving up on me. For making me face what I'd done. For being here. I'm your father, I said. Where else would I be? She hugged me tight. I love you, Dad, and I'm sorry for all of it. I know, I said. I love you too. We stood there for a while, watching the waves. Dad, she said eventually. Yeah? I never cashed your check back. I know. I never cashed yours either. She laughed. So, we're even? We were always even, Emily. You don't owe me anything. You never did. I'm your father. Supporting you wasn't a loan. It was love. She started crying again. Happy tears this time. But, I added, if you really want to pay me back, you can start by calling more often, and visiting Sacramento at least twice a year, and naming your first kid Sarah if it's a girl. Deal, she said, still crying. All of it. I promise. I believed her. And this time, I think she believed herself too.